Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Got an interesting time together with our special guest today, Brad Dacus. He is the founder and the president of the Pacific Justice Institute. We welcome him back to the program today, and he's got some interesting things to share with us that's going on with our neighbors to the south, better known as California. And are you in Sacramento, Brad?
5 offices in California. We're looking to open up offices in Oregon and Washington.
Come on up.
Beautiful country.
Hey, thanks for being with us, and thanks for what you guys do. I really appreciate it. And in California, of course, October is LGBT History Month, and you've been tracking this. Apparently, they've made this a big deal.
Yeah, they really have. It's being instituted throughout public schools all throughout California, including the Los Angeles Unified School District, which is a huge school district. And what they're doing is they're giving recognition every day in the public schools to children at all grade levels, okay, that of individuals who they consider to be homosexual or transsexual role models. Now, these people aren't like just an actor or actress. Some of these people that they're highlighting are individuals that are famous for things that I really can't talk about on television, but real things that most people would see as very highly objectionable, obscene, and inappropriate behavior and inappropriate advocacy for lifestyles.
Is there a pushback on this, or can there be a pushback on this?
Well, as far as legislatively, our hands are tied in California. You know, we have 2/3 of the state Senate that have voted to try to take away the tax-exempt status, for example, the Boy Scouts, because they wouldn't hire homosexual scout leaders and transsexual scout leaders. So we have a very, very liberal legislature. So it really has to be, taken on the local level where parents get involved. And we have large school districts like the LA Unified. It can be very problematic because then the teachers union are the ones who really control the large school districts for the most part. And they are very much in supportive of all these movements and these legislative efforts to promote homosexual and transsexuality at all grade levels down to kindergarten. So they're a really large part of the problem as well. So parents in small school districts, though, there is things that they can do. They can also, of course, pull their children out of public schools and look at charter schools, home schools, and private schools.
All right. So are teachers being forced to promote LGBT?
Yeah. Different school districts vary on how hard they're pushing this, how dogmatic they are. San Francisco Unified is pushing it very dogmatically. The LA Unified School District is as well. I'd say most school districts in California are going out of their way to recognize it, to promote it. So children on a massive scale in the state of California have begun this month-long indoctrination process where people engaged in these lifestyles, which are medically, mentally, emotionally, are actually not advantageous. The suicide rate, for example, for those engaged in this is much higher. The lifespan rate is much lower. So why the school district wants to go out of their way to openly promote these kinds of role models that are really not overall, I would consider healthy role models in the eyes of most parents when it comes to the raising of their children.
Now, I understand, Brad, there is a website that parents can go to check this out, just to give you an idea of how they're making these individuals. Was there 30 of them, I guess, as icons, one for each day? Right.
And some of them are so shocking, and that's why we're sort of really disappointed that they could have chosen some quote unquote role models that were famous for their achievements and endeavors, but instead I've chosen some that are famous for things that really are not something that children should be exposed to.
Can a teacher refuse to do this?
Yeah, we at Pacific Justice Institute would defend a teacher and give counsel to teachers who wish to object to this. But make no mistake, we've defended teachers before that have lost their jobs because they would refuse to have a rainbow flag in their classroom, literally. The LA Unified School District is a classic example of that. Or refuse to wear a red T-shirt in support of the Day of Silence. So teachers can and are often harassed. We at Pacific Justice, though, are there to represent them. And I will say that depending on the circumstances, that we could actually have a bona fide defense for those wishing to be able to or wanting to opt out of it. But that's something that we have to do on a case-by-case basis.
Well, I watched with great amazement and shock, and yet it happened. Governor Brown signed into law that allowing children to have more than two legal parents. Describe that. What does that mean, Brad?
Yeah, this is really opening a Pandora's box of problems because what it means is that you could have a parent who donates their sperm or their egg, to be conceived by someone else, and this other person who donates it, they want to be a parent too, and the other two people want them to be a parent. You could have a homosexual couple and a third party heterosexual brought in. They have to be brought in order to have children biologically, and they want them to be a part of the family. But the problem is, while it may meet the emotional needs of the adults, it's at the cost of the general welfare of the children. And here's why. First is the fact that the more people you have, the more discourse you're going to have as to the decisions on the raising of children. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. So our legal system is going to probably have more conflict. That's the reason why the judges in California and the courts were opposed to this legislation. It's going to raise more conflict and more problems. Second is the fact that the more people you have in the decision making, the less responsibility and individual accountability there is inherently in that. If you have 10 different people sort of responsible for it, you really have no one responsible for it. In the same way, 3 people or 4 people or 5 people responsible for the raising of a child means you have less centralized authority and accountability and responsibility. And that also, unfortunately, could very well lead to the demise of the welfare of children as well. So this is, for the short term, some activists, they're happy. Short term, some parents and their personal emotional needs, they're happy. But for the welfare of children, this is a big loser.
All right, a couple of things come out of this. This is certainly a blow to the definition of a traditional family because it just got thrown under the bus. And number two, when these children now go through a domestic squabble or separation or divorce and custody becomes an issue, what a mess.
Right, especially if you have, right now when you have 2 parents who are divorced, you'll have, okay, the children are staying with this parent on the weekends and this parent, during the school days. You have 3 parents, it's going to be even more problematic. They're going to be splitting up 2 or 3 days a week here, 3 days there, 2 days there. It's going to be, very difficult. And also, make no mistake, in the long run, we see this as opening up a greater movement for promoting polygamy. Now, people say, oh, that can't happen. Well, you know what? We've seen more happen that we've said couldn't happen in the past as well. And I think this will only open the door more for efforts to try to validate polygamy once again in this country that was fought back in the 1800s, but I think we're going to see it come back again as we see similar legislation like this passed.
Well, as states are approving same-sex marriages, I've always said I thought the next move would be polygamy, and eventually it works towards pedophilia. But we say, well, we'll never go there. Well, we're on the threshold of all that stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
What else are you guys working on here at the Institute?
Well, we're also working right now on combating something called AB 1266. This is a new law, a new law, Harry, where the legislature says that and starting January 1st, that if a boy comes to school at any age, but let's just say he's 16, he comes to school and he says, you know what, I feel like I'm a girl today. Then he is immediately allowed access to the girls' bathrooms, the girls' locker rooms, the girls' showers at the same time that the girls are using them. And it also applies to females. If a female 14-year-old says, I feel like I'm a boy, I'm going to go, then they're immediately allowed without parental review, counseling, all that is ignored, and they have immediate access to use the boys' locker room, the boys' bathrooms, and showers. So this is very problematic. This is now the law. And we at the Pacific Justice Institute are trying to get it repealed by getting enough signatures so we get on the ballot. And if we get it on the ballot for November 2014, we'll be able to stay its enforcement, prevent its enforcement starting January 1. If we don't get enough signatures, then make no mistake, we at Pacific Justice Institute are going to be in the courts dealing with real victims for 13, 14-year-old girls who were exposed or had themselves exposed in at times when they didn't want to the opposite sex, whether it's showers or locker rooms or bathrooms. So it's going to be very problematic. It's a very sick piece of legislation. It's going to victimize a lot of kids and really defy the privacy rights of a lot of kids that we believe are clearly protected by the Constitution of the United States.
All right, let me just recap that. You say it is law now?
It is law right now in the state of California.
So, and a student can just, based upon his or her feeling, that's it? That's all? That's it?
That's it. It would be nice if they could copy what some of the other school districts have done, like LA Unified or even San Francisco, where they say, hey, the kid's required to have at least a year of prior counseling and review to make sure that putting them into girls' bathrooms and locker rooms is actually in the best, for their development. That's totally taken out. If a psychologist sends a letter to a school saying, do not allow this, this could be dangerous, suicidal for the child in the end, that has to be ignored. The parents have to be ignored. The teachers have to be ignored. So everyone is ignored except what this one child says he feels, and that's it. So it's really very it's very unfortunate for the kid who has gender identity dysphoria, which does happen, and these kids need proper counseling and treatment. It's disadvantaged them, of course, also to all the others who are going to be mentally, emotionally traumatized when they find themselves naked at the same time as someone of the opposite sex that they don't want to be naked in front of.
Amazing. Brad, thanks for what you do. And people can go to Pacific Justice Institute. What's your website there?
Sure. It's simply pji.org. P for Pacific, J for Justice, I for Institute.org. And there they can sign up to get our case updates. And of course, we always appreciate the many out there who do support our work and allow us to continue to function. Yeah. So if they need help, go to that website and request for assistance. We'd love to help and serve people all throughout your listening audience.
Please come to Oregon.
I'd love to.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, my friend. Have a good day. Okay.
You too.
We'll be right back.